Sam, here we are. We're launching this mini podcast from St Albans with our series in Ecclesiastes. And last Sunday, we kicked off with a sermon titled The Endless Search on the first 11 verses of Ecclesiastes. Thoughts so far on the teacher and where he's coming from?
Well, I think you identified well in the sermon, Mark, where it's a bit of a sort of a brutal start when you get kind of the text just straight away saying everything's meaningless. It's like, oh, it's really going to draw your attention to the book. So already it's captured our attention, and I thought you identified that well on Sunday morning. So yeah, already we're intrigued to see what he says in the rest of the book.
Yeah. Yeah, it's either got to be, we're either looking for some sort of silver lining that doesn't actually come really until the very end. And now we're reading this book called Living Life Backwards, which is a mini commentary, a reflection on the book of Ecclesiastes. And I was struck by the way in which he sort of says the reason why there's such gold in the book of Ecclesiastes is this is a guy who's at the end of his life. He realizes it's not going to be that much longer till he dies.
Yeah, right.
And he's able to actually see life looking back on it. And that Ecclesiastes draws us into something like that, which is realize I am mortal. I've got a finite span of life. So I actually consider those things which I might normally invest all my meaning and hope into in the light of actually... this is a short span of life.
Yeah, and it begs an interesting question because you read a lot of commentaries and different theologians throughout the years thinking about this book in particular in terms of the canon. Like, how does this book fit in the Bible? If the Bible is giving you all this hope and this expectation, the grand narrative is pointing to the work of the Lord Jesus, how can a book just start with this idea of everything being meaningless? So, there's a lot of conjecture about, you addressed this on Sunday, but is the book optimistic? Is it pessimistic? There's a lot of differing views going on. I tend to favour your view, and I think the broad church view that actually this book is optimistic. And we're seeing life, as you said, through the lens of someone who's lived a long, prosperous life. He's attained all this. Maybe we can get into this later on because this is what the passage is about, but he's attained all this wisdom. He's attained all this pleasure. And he's realised he hasn't really been able to grasp it. He hasn't been able that fulfilled from it. So he's reflecting upon his life, and he's giving wisdom to people that are willing to listen to him. And so I think it does fit in the Bible, although we have to we're going to, I think, throughout this series at St Alban, think together about what that looks like and how it fits within the broader context, the whole narrative of the Bible itself.
So, Sam, that's a great segue into this Sunday. You're preaching this week, and it's the back half of chapter 11 and all of chapter 2. What have we got to look forward to?
So, I think the biggest change, Mark, with this passage compared to what we saw in the first 11 verses is it shifts from the third person. So, he's saying the words of the teacher. So, that seems to be the focus in the first 11 verses. Then he says it from his perspective, which is interesting. He shifts the person who's speaking in the text. So from verse 12, it says, I, the teacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem. So it's kind of like we're seeing this in the first 11 verses. We're seeing this man sort of kind of almost from a third person perspective saying, this is what the nature of life is in this world and how we live. But now we're getting, in this passage, his own perspective on the matter. It shifted to, this is actually what I've experienced in my long life, as we've seen, and this is what I pursued, what I've thought about. I won't give too many spoilers, we'll wait till Sunday, but this is what I've experienced, and this is the conclusion that I've come to. And I think we're going to find some interesting things in there that relates to what he's already said in the sermon that you addressed on Sunday.
One of the things about preaching is we want to, as preachers, let the passage talk to us as well. Let God speak to us and change our hearts. before we kind of get up on our hind legs and tell other people
Mm.
about what we think God is saying to them through the passage. For me, last Sunday, getting ready for that introduction into Ecclesiastes, the big take home was that reminder to treat life seriously, make good plans, receive things as a great gift of God that's a great blessing from Him, and yet not grip onto them really tightly, so that I can grieve if something really special just doesn't happen the way I thought it would, or disappears or lose or finishes up. But at the same time, I'm not holding so tightly to it that it guts me. And the answer to that seems to come through Ecclesiastes, but particularly if you look at the final chapter, is remember your Creator. Actually, remember you're eternal. If you're a follower of Jesus, you're already an eternal person, and life is bigger, and therefore you can gently let go of things, even when they've been really special. But what about for you? What's the word been saying to you as you've prepared this sermon?
Well, I think what you're identifying is actually what I've been thinking about, because I think whenever you approach a book of the Bible, you kind of have to ask yourself, why is this here? Why is this person written this? What are they trying to say, and why? You ask all those kind of questions. And the broader picture of Ecclesiastes is, there's nothing you can kind of gain from this world. That's why we keep seeing this word meaningless. That's why you talked about it on Sunday. It's more like vapor. It's something that you're trying to grab and you can't hold on to. And that's what the book's trying to say, is that you can't actually gain anything from this world. You're reflecting upon the fact that you're going to die. And for a lot of people, that's a confronting thought. But Ecclesiastes is saying that's actually quite a liberating thought, because you can enjoy, and this is a repeated refrain throughout the book, that you can enjoy the good gifts that God's given you. You can enjoy the little things, the life, the small pleasures. You don't have to pursue it as a means to an end, though. You don't have to pursue knowledge or pleasure. And this is something we'll get into on Sunday, where I think our culture's kind of twisted this idea that people make this the focus of their lives. But Ecclesiastes is saying, no, don't seek the gain or the gift, seek the giver of the gift in God's world, and enjoy the good things that He provides. And we can think about how that relates to the gospel of the Lord Jesus as well. But I think that's what God's been showing me through His word as I reflect on this book.
I mean, I was just thinking, is the last verse is, to the person who pleases God, God gives wisdom, knowledge, and happiness. But to the sinner, and we know in the Bible that word, the sinner, that's not just somebody who does wrong things, that we all do. This is the person who's said, not interested, God, just not on your team, not interested in hearing from you. To that person, He gives the task of gathering and storing up wealth, only to hand it over to the one who pleases God. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. That idea that actually, if you're following Jesus, if actually you're seeking to live a life that pleases God, if that's who you're putting your hope and your joy and your trust into, there will be meaning. It's only meaningless if you try and make it meaningful on its own, I think is what I'm picking up from chapter 2 at least.
Yeah. And I think the Old Testament does this quite a bit, but it always brings us back to this, when we talk about the idea of the sinner, which appears, like you said, it appears at the end of chapter 2, and we're thinking about kind of broad topics in the Bible, but one of the foundational ones is the creation narrative. And if Adam and Eve, kind of the original, the sin that they committed was they wanted more. They wanted the gain. They wanted to hold on to the thing. And Ecclesiastes is almost kind of saying, this is what the sinner is doing. They're wanting to gain that, and Adam and Eve were, and that's kind of what's kind of plagued humanity since then. If we think of theological ideas like original sin that we hold to in a Reformed tradition, then we too have inherited that sinful nature. You think of passages like Romans 5, where all are dead in Adam because of their sin and because of their wanting to grasp the things of the world, and then they're not seeking fulfillment in the right places. And that's, like you said, where Jesus comes in and fills that void and gives you that life, and that you don't need to hold on to the things of the world. You can hold them loosely. You can recognize that there's life after death, and that there's hope and expectation. So yeah, it's interesting just how the Bible kind of all connects with one another, and particularly the Old Testament always thinking back to creation and how ultimately Jesus has fixed that great problem of sin.
Yeah. What's the song we sing? In the light of creation's grand design. When you're in Christ, I said this on Sunday, those things that otherwise actually are vapor and mist and so forth take on a richness and a depth and a beauty, a glorious thing. Relationships, work, enjoyment of just the good things of life.
Right.
You can actually enjoy them and get the richness and the depth out of it, as opposed to what the teacher is saying, which is that if they're just an end in themselves, then they're nothing, and you can't hold on to them, and they will at best just vanish away, and at worst profoundly break your heart. Well, I'm looking forward to what you have to bring to us on Sunday. It's a great book. I think we're off to a good start. So be there or be square on Sunday morning.
Looking forward to it as well.